To talk to you about the Bose S1, which is an amazing speaker for acoustic guitar gigs that I recently got to test drive. The S1 has two separate channels. It's got one for guitar and one for microphone, and there's a third channel you can use for a looper or for backing tracks that you can access by Bluetooth or through a 1/8 inch input. And the S1 is actually portable and rechargeable for up to 11 hours. So the guitar and mic channels, they have separate independent tone, volume, and reverb controls. And they also have something called a proprietary tone match switch, which EQs, optimizes, and restores the natural sound of your acoustic guitar, which, as you know, is typically your biggest problem when you're playing acoustic amps. I tested the S1 speaker, and it's very responsive to pickups, and the tone, volume, and reverb controls genuinely work great. You can position the S1 four different ways. You can tilt it back to broadcast out to an audience, or you can put it horizontally, vertically, or on a stand. The S1 also has a proprietary Bose accelerometer, which automatically adjusts the EQ and optimizes the sound based on whichever one of these four positions you're using. So effectively, you have an acoustic guitar amp, a PA, and a killer Bluetooth speaker all in one. So the bottom line is, if you're an acoustic player, there's absolutely nothing out there that sounds this good and this big, that's portable and battery powered. And the S1 also happens to be the best Bluetooth speaker Bose makes, which says a lot. I used it myself for a party we had here one night, and it was absolutely amazing. All my kids were freaking out. It's like having a full stereo system out on your patio. You can easily use this for DJing, tailgating, or whatever you want. Before this, you'd have to spend thousands of dollars on a bunch of equipment to get the same thing the S1 does. On top of that, it's sleek and it looks great, just like all Bose devices do. And besides whatever money-back guarantee you get from wherever you buy the S1, Bose also warranties the S1 for 2 years from any kind of defects in materials or performance. For more information and to find out where to get your own S1, I'd like you to go to pro.bose.com/podcast. Check it out at pro.bose.com/podcast and get the S1. It's outstanding. This is an important announcement for anyone who wants to advertise here on Everyone Loves Guitar. Over the last 9 months alone, we've had 425,000 more downloads, added over 25,000 monthly listens, and grown our YouTube subscriber base by 72 times. During this time, we've kept our advertising rates consistent, but we will be increasing rates on January 1st. So if you're a business looking to generate new leads or increase your cash flow by picking up new clients or customers, or if you're a label looking to promote new music, then listen up. For information on advertising on Everyone Loves Guitar, fill in the short form at everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. Again, that's everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. Even if you want to advertise next year, you'll get to lock into marketing your product or service at the current rates before rates go up at the end of this year. If you want to buy or sell a home or investment property and you're here in the Tampa Bay area, in Hillsborough, Pinellas, or Pasco counties, then listen up. West Florida Real Estate is a local residential real estate broker that's helped over 250 Bay Area homeowners buy and sell their properties in the last 4 years alone. If you're looking to sell, you'll want to get their free report, The 7 Biggest Mistakes Homeowners Make When Hiring a Realtor. And if you're looking to buy a property, you definitely want to get your hands on the 21 Most Expensive Mistakes Tampa Home Buyers Make When Buying a Home. Each one of these reports is going to save you time and money. Inside, you'll discover the 7 most important things to consider when hiring a realtor, what to do if you're buying and selling a home at the same time, and the danger of choosing a realtor who agrees with everything you say. To get your hands on these free reports, head on over to westfloridarealestate.com. That's westfloridarealestate.com. Hey, this is Craig. If you like this show and you want to support it and you want to keep it free, head on over to everyonelovesguitar.com/support. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/support. Hey everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. Today we have something a little different. I was interviewed recently by a friend of mine, Terry Wollman. Terry's got a podcast called Making It with Terry Wollman. I encourage you to check that out and subscribe to it if you enjoy it. Terry had me as a guest on his show, so light and easy today. We're going to just, I'll be the guest. You know, there's some interesting stuff about how I started the show, some of the stuff I've talked about before. He talks about some marketing stuff, maybe some general success stuff, and I think you'll like it. It's pretty cool. It's different. If you have any comments, let me know. And again, thank you very much for making this happen and for allowing this show to grow and prosper. And man, as always, thank you for listening. Have a good one. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to Making It with me, your host, Terry Wollman. I really appreciate you joining us every week. And this is a really fun show for me this week because I'm flipping the script with another podcast host, one of my favorite, Craig Garber, who has had me on his show. And I wanted to talk about what it's like to be a podcast host and also all of his marketing expertise, because he comes from a different point of view than I do, having a business background. So this is going to be a great conversation. So everybody grab your pencils and a cup of something and just sit down and relax. Just so you know, you can find all of our episodes on entertalkmedia.com, Spotify, YouTube, or go to iTunes and look up Making It with Terry Wollman under the podcast. I created this show to focus on what it takes to have a lasting career in the ever-changing landscape of the music business, and that it is. It is constantly changing and evolving. I met my guest today, by being on his show, but I was actually referred through the
Cat
guitar
Dyson.
Through Cat Dyson. It was through the guitar community, and this we're gonna. Well, I'm just going to jump right in and let you know what Craig is all about. Let me just tell you. Craig Garber is the creator and host of the podcast, Everyone Loves Guitar. The first broadcast of this show was on August 31st, 2017. Over 600 shows later, it has grown to be not only the largest and most popular podcast in the guitar niche, but it's actually in the top 15% of all podcasts. His show features musicians covering genres from bluegrass to metal and from more than 25 different countries. Garber has a background in marketing, sales, and communication, which has allowed him to experience a variety of job paths throughout his career. He's worked as a CPA, financial planner, in sales for wholesaling single-family homes, flipping mobile homes and raw land, and creating and managing turnkey marketing programs for loan officers. Perhaps more importantly, he also ran a marketing, consulting, and copyright practice, working in 110 different industries with over 300 clients. Everyone Loves Guitar is my favorite music podcast, or more accurately, my second most favorite after this one. If you enjoy listening to the backstory of successful people, you will love this show, and you'll love my guest today, Craig Garber. Welcome to Making It.
Terry, thank you very much. I appreciate that very nice intro. But one thing, when you said everybody get a cup of something, it's probably going to be like a cup of alcohol is what you need to sit and listen to all this. So get a couple of shots of whiskey is more than like it.
I've got my no joke ginger shot.
There you go. That's not strong enough, man. Thank you so much for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I've been looking forward to flipping the script because you are used to being on the other end of the interview, you know, asking the questions and not answering them. And I'm really curious about a lot of things with you. And we've gotten to know each other over the last year because prior to me being on your show, we had a couple of conversations that all should have been recorded and broadcast because those felt like great interviews as well, you know, on both ways. But by the time we actually got to me being a guest on your show, I felt like we were buddies.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
But I get the feeling that feeling happens pretty quickly anyway, you know, because you're real. You are kind of fearless. You are also funny, you know, and yeah. And you don't pull any punches. And, you know, as a matter of fact, do you remember the first question that you asked me in my interview because you had me laughing out the gate?
No, but that's good that I had you laughing out the gate. What did I ask you?
Well, you basically, because as we do our research. So you knew about my journey and everything, and as I do about yours, but you had basically said, you know, you grew up in Miami. I'll do the short version. You drove yourself to Boston and went to one of the top music schools in the world, Berkeley. And then you got in the car again and drove your ass out to California, you know, without knowing anybody to start your career. That must have taken a lot of balls, didn't it?
Yeah. That sounds like something I would. Yeah, because it does, man. You know, I think that I'm always trying to be, you know, I always want to be a better person, and you can't find that out by talking to yourself, and you can by reading books, but I like listening to others and learning
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah, you're a curious guy.
Yeah,
That's
pretty
one of
much.
the. So one of the things that I want to open this conversation with is what you close every conversation with on your
Oh,
show. Can you
yeah, that's
share your
cool.
quote, because I
Yeah,
love that you do this.
thank you. I say happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. And I say that as much for me as for anybody else who chooses to get turned on to it. And I think a lot of people do, because I get a lot of like mail from listeners and stuff, and they're like, I try to remember every day that happiness is a choice. And I feel really good because I think it is. But man, to be honest with you, I didn't get hip to that till about 5 years ago, that happiness is a choice. I
Mhm.
had a pretty rough start, and that word happy just wasn't pretty much in my lexicon.
Right.
It wasn't like, oh, I'm determined to be miserable today, but I just didn't realize that I could be happy today.
You had a tough growing up, a tough family.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I learned that, it was almost like, I mean, this sounds simple and it may seem ridiculous to some people listening, that at 50, I just got hip to it, but uh, it, it was really liberating, and it was really um, it was it gave me so much more optimism. I'm like, great, so now this is up to me, so I'm just going to be happy. And I didn't, about 5 years ago, same time too, I stopped biting my nails. And I remember
Oh,
I
yeah.
was at my I was talking to a buddy of mine on it. Him and his wife, he lives on the other side of Florida, lives in Hollywood, Florida, and him and his wife are in town. And I mentioned that, and I said, man, I just stopped. It was like I was done. And his wife said, she goes, Craig, it takes a lifetime to do something, and it takes a minute to do something. And I said, there you go. And it was
Right.
kind of like, and I'm sort of like that. Like once I stumble on something, I'm like, that's good for me. I don't waste time. It doesn't always stick right away. We're all trying to get better day by day, but
Right.
I pretty much say, okay, I'm done. So I say that quote because it's really important that everybody knows that, because, a lot of shit happens to all of us, but it's up to you how you handle it.
Right. And you've also told me that part of the reason you say it is to remind yourself every
Yeah,
day.
it's for me, right? It's
Right.
for me as much as everybody else. I always want to keep that up in my mind.
Well,
So
I benefited from hearing it from you as well, and I listen to your show
thank you.
and enjoy it and encourage everybody to. And one of the things that I get asked a lot, I don't know if you do, not so much on the air, but off from the artist community, is how do you do a podcast? How do you get one? How does this all work? And I always suggest that they start by listening to podcasts that they find
Yeah,
interesting. Listen to mine, listen to Everyone Loves Guitar, go listen to Terry Gross on
mm,
NPR.
sure.
Find some people, find what you like, find what you don't like about it, and then go. But have a point of view,
Yeah.
and be curious, and learn how to listen. And so do you agree with that? Or are there any other
Yeah. I mean, there's different
suggestions?
things. There's different podcasts you could do. Like I do interviews, you do interviews,
Hmm.
but there's plenty of people, they do 20-minute shows, and it's them talking about something, or them and their buddy, they get together and they smoke cigars, or they smoke
Right.
weed and they get all fucked
Right.
up, and they, can I say
Talk.
fucked up on here?
You can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and they, just do their own thing, or they're into comic books, and they talk about, Spider-Man number 511 and the history of that. It's whatever. I think the most important thing is to talk about something you're passionate about, because
Hmm.
as as you're a musician, the same thing. If you go up and play a gig and you're like totally not into it, everybody's going to know.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Whereas if you're into it, even if you're throwing clams left and right, you know what, you get a lot of forgiveness, because the passion you're bringing to the table is like, bam,
Hmm. So I'd like to focus today's show on your extremely diverse career and your very successful podcast. And also I want to share your insights about what you've learned from interviewing over 600
Sure.
accomplished musicians, and also what you can share about marketing and self-promotion, because
Sure.
not only do you have a strong background in that, but you actually love it. I mean, you're
Yeah, I
passionate
do
about
like it.
marketing and sales, and that's something that many musicians lack.
Oh,
Even if we learn the skill, we don't have the passion. We're intimidated by it, or it's overwhelming, and that's not your story.
No, I would say they don't lack it. They're allergic to it, actually.
Right,
No,
right. Yeah.
seriously,
I
seriously.
agree.
It's
I
like,
agree.
the little devil on the shoulder is saying, "Oh man, don't do that,"
Right. Yeah.
and it's a shame. And I think some of it's messaging. I don't know where it comes from, but anyway, I'm happy to, anything I could do to
Great.
help. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about you first. You played Carnegie Hall when you were 13, which
Saxophone.
is saxophone. I know. A guitar is new to you. You've been playing guitar for 4 years,
Right.
but you certainly you're getting sort of to the front of the line with information because of all these amazing people that you've interviewed. So I would say, whether you know it or not, a lot of those things are rubbing off and making you a better musician just from the conversational aspect of it.
Yeah,
so,
thanks. I would say if I had this much of everybody's talent, I mean, lit 0.0001,
right.
Up, so
but you played sax and clarinet and I believe drums too. You went through a couple of different instruments when you were a kid, as many of us have.
Sure.
But you even auditioned for the High School of Music and Art, but you weren't allowed to attend. Back to not the best of childhoods.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, it was just, I probably didn't, one of the things that I would say 98% of everybody I speak to had a supportive family, even if there was dysfunction in the family.
Right.
The parents supported their career. I didn't have a support for career or anything. It just happened. That's the way the cards fell,
Right.
So I didn't get to go there. And that was that in the conversation.
You just answered the question I was leading to, which is, how many of those over 600 interviews, people that you've interviewed, really got support at home to pursue music? And you're saying many of them did?
It's the number one commonality.
It is?
Yeah. Number one commonality.
Wow. Because I didn't really get the support.
Right.
My story's a little bit different, and it, and this episode is not about me. If you want to hear everything about me, go listen to my conversation on Everyone Loves Guitar, and we'll get into the dirt. But and the fabric. It's not even the dirt. It's the fabric of who we are. But so I'm surprised, and that in a way that's kind of cool that many people actually were supported, and that leads to their success. And in a way, you should be proud then of the life that you've built for yourself. Business-wise and family-wise, because you've been married for 27.
I've been with my wife 27 years.
27 years, three kids, grown, who so far so good. Everybody's turned out well.
I got a 5-year-old granddaughter, as a matter of fact.
Wow. That's very cool.
I don't like to say that. I'm still trying to get her to call me. Oh, it just makes you feel old, man. I'm just.
But you are. So am I.
I've ignored age, Terry, successfully.
Well, right, because you live in a healthy place. You live in Florida, which is where I'm from, so I can picture it and I understand the lifestyle, and it's a great one. But you go to the gym, you take care of yourself, and we have that in common. So, I just encourage you to embrace getting older, because for me, it's getting more comfortable in my skin every year that I get older. What are some of the common threads or stories that you've heard from your other guests? You've already shared one, which is that the majority of them have gotten support at home. But what other kind of work ethic or quality or point of view have you found from speaking to so many successful people?
Well, the most successful people, I interview a lot of sidemen, some artists as well. Not
just guitarists.
No, not just guitarists, bass players, drummers. I've had some singers. The number one so let me try to prioritize work ethic. You got to have a good work ethic, man. I mean, no matter what, in any profession, but especially in music, you've got to have a good work ethic. But I would say extremely closely related to work ethic is you have to be a good person. Mm-hmm. As you're on tour, you're on stage for 90 minutes, 2 hours. That means you got 22 hours a day to hang out with people. And if they're not a good hang, nobody wants to be around you.
Right.
So, and the smartest people are able to, who one of the smartest guys I interviewed was, as it relates to that, is Earl Slick.
No kidding.
David Bowie. He understands and embraces his role as a sideman, mind you, he's not a guy that kisses ass and he'll tell you to fuck off.
Right. Right.
He's going to be Earl Slick in no uncertain terms. But when it comes down to work, he knows I'm there to support you. And most people do, but something about his level of professionalism with that was inherent as a youngster, even, when he started with Bowie at like 21, 22.
Right.
So, being a good person, a good hang, flexible, not having a big ego. It's funny because people say, "Oh, have you met a lot of big ego maniacs?" I'm like, no, man, they're the most nicest people. I mean, I've met a couple of people that are just like, like their mom probably told them they're wonderful too many times and they believed it. Well, I mean, that's what it's like.
I get that.
But by and large, almost everybody's wonderful. I mean, truly, I'd have dinner with everybody, and have my wife have dinner with them as well.
Right.
So, everybody's really mellow. So work ethic, attitude. The other thing is not being afraid. When the call comes, you got to step up. May not get it, but if you don't step up, you're definitely not going to get it.
Right. Right.
And also a lot of people, serendipity is involved. I mean, some of the stories I've heard about, or like, how did you met this guy that led you to this guy, 10 years later, it led you to this guy. And then you get a call from this guy's wife, who's a major artist and wants to go on. I mean, what is it? There's a lot of,
Yeah, my career's been that way. And so is yours. I mean, even outside of the music business too, it's certainly, you have, in a way, it seems like it's the same sort of path that we've all followed too, which is one thing leads to the next, to the next, to the next. And you're open to it and you dig in.
Well, I'm more open here than I've ever been in my life. And I think that's why the show has grown, because I've people tell me things and I'm open. I learned a lot from musicians. In the beginning, I said yes to everything.
Right.
So when I started this show in the beginning, I said yes to everything.
Well, share the story of how this show started, because, and the statistics of how many people you had to reach out to, because it's great.
So, man, this is really weird. This goes back in 2009. I had a bad run in life. I had a bunch of shit happen, like we all do, but this is like 5 or 6 heavy stuff at one time. And I was like, man, I need help, So that was the first time in my life I said I need help with anything. Not because I'm like some tough guy, but again, that was another word, help, that was not in my lexicon, because I didn't get help as a kid. It was like, if it's meant to be, it's up to me.
Right.
But I had all this shit go down at once. And I remember getting on my knee, and I'm not a religious guy still, but I was not even a spiritual person that much. And I said, God, please help me. I need some help. I can't keep doing this all on my own. And it started me on like a spiritual path to have a connection with some sort of higher power or the universe or whatever you want to call it. That's not really important, but just to have a connection that to sort of maybe be open to the fact that somebody's looking out for me. Right. So, and again, it wasn't like I resisted this. I just wasn't that I didn't grow up with anything like that. And I really did have it rough. I was doing adult stuff as a very young kid, and, being responsible for myself and for other members of the family. And,
right. You were taking 2 trains or 2 subways and a bus to get to the World Trade Center a foot messenger when you were a kid growing up in New York. So that's a lot. And then, and there 14, was at 14, and then there was no turning back. Once you started making money, you kind of were on your own.
Yeah. And I, I was paying for everything and all my, and I don't want anybody to take this like I'm, poor me. If you look at it, hey man, this guy was able to not do the same thing, it was a happy ending, because I learned along the way, you could rewrite your own ending as well. Yeah. So, so this whole shit went down in 2009, and I said, I got to start being open to trusting the universe more. And so I was a little dissatisfied with what I was doing career-wise, running my marketing company. I mean, I like marketing, but I was like, man, I'm not that happiness thing. I wasn't like, when I wake up every day, I wasn't like, man, I'm like, now I'm working with musicians. I'm talking with, man, that's really rewarding. I'm talking with people. It's all positive. There's no politics or stuff like that, because I don't want to deal with that. I had negative shit for 55 years. I'm not dealing with that.
Right.
And I don't even care if people are putting it on. it's good because it's
Mhm.
all positive. I'm take that any day, honestly.
Right. Yeah.
So it's happy conversations. I'm learning stuff. I'm in, the show, as you know, is more about personal development than music.
Yeah.
And so I get to learn stuff from everybody. So what happened was I had business
I do
wise.
as well, by the way. I share
Yeah,
that experience. Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah.
So I had started doing other things. I was flipping homes, as you mentioned. I was flipping mobile homes, which I really love, because I'd never even seen a mobile home growing
Are
up
you being sarcastic? Do you really did love that, or was it?
No, I loved it. Oh
Wow,
my
that's
God,
great.
I loved it. It's like it was like anyway, long story, but it's really good. But
Yeah.
I'd never even seen a mobile home.
Yeah.
We don't have mobile homes in the Bronx.
No.
And they don't have anything mobile. If it's mobile, it's getting stolen. It's got to be nailed to the ground.
Right.
So anyway, I did a bunch of stuff. Some of it worked, some of it didn't, but none of it triggered my happiness.
Right.
None of it was like, man, this is cool. And so I was sitting here right here one day and with my guitar in my lap and backtrack 1 second. When for 10 years I published a marketing newsletter, and in it was it was a hard copy newsletter, like old school, you get it mailed to your house.
Mm-hmm.
It was a paid for subscription newsletter, and I did that for every month for 10 years. And I would include an interview in there, and it wouldn't be as in depth as these interviews, but it was like the precursor. And I'd interview other people, clients of mine, or other people that had marketing businesses, or buddies of mine in the industry. That it was just to give people more ideas about sales and marketing. So interviewing is something I had done, and I'm sitting here one day, and I swear to God, man, this is the most bizarre thing that happened. I heard a voice right over this shoulder. At the time, that white strap was sitting right there, and it said, "Craig, you need to start interviewing guitar players." And I'm like, and it was an actual voice, man.
Yeah,
So,
I've experienced that voice too. So I'm that's why I'm smiling.
yeah,
I get it.
I'd never heard that, or maybe if I have, I hadn't been open to it. And again, being a very in a many ways stereotypical New Yorker, I'm not like confrontational, but I'm very like black and white about things. And
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, this is only for people in California to hear voices, but but nothing against people from California, but
Well, no, that's funny because I didn't hear voices when I was growing up in Florida. It started when I moved to California.
There you go, man. There's a big concentration of voices in the air there.
And all kidding aside, it's only been once or twice in my life that I've had that experience, and it's pretty special.
No, but I was sober.
So was I.
Yeah, that's what, I've heard lots of voices and I'm not so. Anyway, so I said, man, that's kind of weird, but if I was like, that's the universe talking to me, man.
Yeah.
No one else is in here. I said, okay. So I look back at my commitment. This is in like 2017. I said, I look back at my commitment that I made in 2009 is to start trusting the universe. I said, okay, if I am going to start trusting the universe, I've got to, trust is an action word, right? It's, you can't say, okay, cool. So I said, all right, let me do it, because I had nothing else in motion that I was thinking of doing next. And I didn't have any sort of like business like model. I just said, okay, let me start doing that, because I like doing interviews. I love playing guitar, as you know. It's a very cathartic experience. And so I did, and I knew a guy online, and I said, and he was a young kid, and he turned me on to some kids who just graduated Belmont. And then the first few interviews was like, I didn't know where this would go. So every other interview I would do like a little monologue that was awful, and I'm not qualified to do it. But I didn't know. I said, hey, if I'm going to build a content-based business, I've got to put out a lot of content. I don't know if I'll have enough guys to interview every day. So let me fill in the gaps. Well, 30, 40 episodes in, I started realizing I got plenty of people.
Right.
And then it just went from there.
But you had reached out. You had sent me the numbers on this, but it was something like you had to send 750 emails to.
Right. The second part
to
of
get the first part of
I have probably contacted as many people as I've interviewed. Maybe a little, maybe like 52% let's say the population of people I contacted, 52% of them have said no, or have said yes, but meant no. And 48% have moved forward. Something like that. It's like 50-50, because you can't, everybody doesn't say yes in anything you're doing.
Right. Yeah.
So, you got
that's pretty common in sales though, right? I've got a friend I grew up with who who has been in sales his whole life and various different things, as well as being an artist and photographer. But he's a sales guy. And, he's always said, man, you send out 100 emails or make 100 calls. If you get 2 yeses,
that's great.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, he's right. He's 100% right.
So build it up. Then send out 200 emails to get the 4 yeses, and
he's 100% right. That's exactly how it works.
So you would encourage people to have that mindset as artists when they're
when
self-promoting and marketing and et cetera.
Absolutely. And don't be discouraged because look, hope for the best, but don't expect it.
Right.
It's almost like, and one of the things when I was raising kids, I learned not to have expectations, not because my kids were like disappointing or anything, but because, you realize they're individuals and they're going to make their own decisions and do what they want. And it's really none of my business when it comes down to it, as long as their, health, safety and education stuff is handled.
Right.
I need to shut my mouth. And that's fine, and of course you don't realize this to like the 3rd kid, because by then it's like part of you is like, fuck it, man, I'm done. Whatever. I got no energy left anyway. So embrace it.
And they can drink out of the hose and eat off the dirt.
Garbage. Absolutely. Whatever they want, man, but, so yeah, you have to definitely don't get discouraged. If you want gigs, if you're looking to get bookings, if you are looking to, anything, if you're connecting with somebody, first of all, make sure you don't make one phone call. You always got to make like everybody that said no to me, I called them at least or emailed them at least 2 or 3 times. Not like belligerently, like, 2 or 3 times over a month or a month and a half,
right.
2 weeks between an email or I call them. Someone says, call me. I call them. And then I'll call them again, but like, not like 3 hours later and say, hey, I called you at noon. It's 3 p.m. Why the hell? That's not going to work. You got to be respectful and use common sense. And just like, what would be reasonable to me? And you got to realize also people have a lot of shit going on in their lives. Everybody's busy. Right. Traveling, and maybe they're looking for the same stuff you're looking for. They're, a lot of times you have a perception of where somebody is in life, and it's not accurate. And they may be not in that position, and it appears to be, and they're scrambling just like you are. And there's nothing wrong with that, but just, don't have expectations. Just don't take anything personal, and just keep, control the controllables, which is your attitude about it, and smile and just be optimistic,
What do you, one of the things that you're good at is, and I'm going to read from information that I researched on you, but that a lot of your work when you had your marketing, consulting, and copyright practice, as well as your newsletter and everything, was that the work consists primarily of developing marketing and sales strategy, then implementing the strategy through writing and copy and writing much of the communication with prospects and clients through the entire sales funnel. Yeah. I don't even know what a sales funnel is, but which you can tell me. But
yeah, it's real simple.
But before you do that, the rest of the question is, what do you think the main difference is between people who are good at developing ideas and the others who actually have the ability to implement those ideas?
It's very interesting that you said that, because there are some people that are really good with starting.
Yeah.
And there are and then like after they have this, they're not going to do anything. They're going to hand it off to somebody else who's the closer or the finisher or the doer of the task.
Right.
And vice versa. There are some people that, I can't do anything, but you give me a bunch of stuff and I can break down the mechanics of it and I can systematize it really well. And it's not always that you can do both. And it's important you recognize that. And some people say, well, work on your weaknesses. No, don't work on your weaknesses, man. Work on your strengths and pay somebody else to do the shit that you don't know how to do.
Wow, that's great advice.
Don't like doing or you don't want to do.
Right.
So to answer your question, a sales funnel is basically the interaction between you and a customer or client from the point of first communication till the point of exchanging money and post-purchase. So it's like the whole, the process of interacting with somebody from the time they're a prospect to the time they're a buyer, and even post-purchase, from that.
Are you kind of a rarity in that you're great at both?
Oh my God.
Or good at both?
I'm a rarity, but it's not because of that. I assure you. I mean, I guess I'm kind of lucky that I'm maybe a little bit left brain and right brain, and I
Yeah.
don't know why. Probably because I was just forced to do everything,
Right. Oh, yeah.
to some
Sure.
extent. I was like, it was funny when
I
you were
can relate to that. Yeah.
yeah, when it was funny when
Yeah.
you were reading that thing, I was a CPA. I was like laughing at that because it was like, God, the thought of doing that work now would,
Yeah.
I'd rather slip my eyelids.
Sure.
Uh,
Yeah.
but having said that, there is a part of me, I like digging into financial statements and I appreciate it, the value that it would tell me.
Hmm.
So I don't know, man, I don't know the answer. I wouldn't say I'm not going to be the guy that says I'm great at anything.
I said it. You didn't. Yeah.
I'm
Your
comfortable.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm comfortable in both worlds, I guess, in the creative and in the mechanical or the logical, maybe.
Well, I like that you just gave some clarity to that. You don't, like you said, don't just focus on working on your weaknesses. Just embrace your strengths and go hire people or surround yourself with greatness, which is I've always done that part,
Yeah.
surrounding myself with great people, the best musicians I can find, the best marketing people, the best everything. But I have kind of felt like I should be better at this. And you just relieved me of that. And probably a lot of our listeners as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's impossible to be good at everything. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
certainly not, like there's things I don't want to do and that like, okay, so my merch store is coming up soon. Could I have gone in there and set the whole thing up and put it together? Yeah. I can probably figure out how to fix the roof as well. But do I
Yeah.
want to do that shit?
Right.
Is that where my strengths go versus hiring somebody else to do it? That'll do it better job in less time and the whole thing will be done. And then if I need changes, I can have, so
Right.
why? There's no need for it. Cut
Right.
yourself some slack. There's nobody's good at everything. That's just not possible.
Right. By the way, one of the things for people that are just listening and not watching the video is in the background in Craig's studio. I'm looking at two Strats, an SG, a Les Paul, a hollow body, and a Bukowski poster. So which is really a great visual representation of.
Thanks, man.
I just love that.
Thank you.
You wrote a book in 2009 called How to Make Maximum Money with Minimum Customers.
Yeah.
Can people still find that, by the way?
Yeah, it's on Amazon.
Okay.
It won't be. It's kind of like probably the first album that you made. You go back and you're like, yeah, it's still out there. Don't listen to it. I mean,
So the information's dated, or do some of the principles still apply?
No, everything still applies. The strategies are great. It's just that I've changed so much. So some of the things that I embraced then, I do not embrace now.
Right.
But the information, if you're looking for marketing information, it's great. I mean, it's very solid and usable and tangible. And I break everything down. You don't need to be like a marketing person to understand it.
Well, I think then it might be worthwhile to our listeners to go check that out because, there's so much to know. I mean, the business model of being a musician now has changed. So we really are responsible for promoting and marketing and still figuring out how to have time to practice, write, record, go learn other people's music, stay healthy, have a family life, go to the gym, all that stuff. It's like it's overwhelming.
Very much.
Even for me, and I'm pretty good at it. And
Yeah.
because I don't treat it like I'm allergic to it, like you had said.
Yeah.
I've embraced it through my career and been willing. And the guests that I have had on my show that are successful, most of them they embrace the business side of it. They don't shudder at the thought of it. And so I think it's cool. I think the information might be valuable, because at least, it's even like engineering, or building a website or thing, like you learn basic skills, but they're enough to be able to have a clear communication with somebody who's an expert.
That's what you need, man. You need to know what you do and don't need. And it's hard. And I mean, look, marketing is like everything else. It's like, doctors. You ever meet someone that said, hey, my doctor sucks? No, they all say, oh, I got a top guy. Well,
Right.
He's a top guy. Wait till he can't solve your problem. Then you're going to say he's awful.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, the population of anybody, the percentage of competency, it's always a bell curve for whether it's musicians, copywriters, marketing strategy people, podcast hosts, session players, you got the bell curve and you got a little bit at the top and everybody else is average, a good chunk are average. And then you got a chunk that's awful.
Right.
So you got to just learn how to discern those things.
How did you how did you join the elite top 15% of podcasters? Is that just hard work and your marketing skills? Because, I mean, you've got a great show, so
Thanks.
you're welcome. And I mean, I listen to it when I go do my 3-mile beach walks in the sand and all that. I mean, you actually keep me company, and it's entertaining, it's educational.
Thanks.
And I love your style, but still, first of all, congratulations. I mean,
Thank you.
You are working your ass off to do this show, and I really am happy for you, the success and attention that you're getting, because it deserves
Thanks.
it. Is some of that, besides it being a solid show, is that you have the understanding of how to market and promote?
First of all, thank you very much. It was really kind of you to say that.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. I think there's a couple of things. First of all, first and foremost, it has to, I have a target, there's a reason why people come listen to it. A lot of times people, I could have started out interviewing whoever and like random,
Right.
a chef, a guitar player, a pipe fitter.
Right.
But when you do that, initially, you don't really attract anyone because they're like, okay, he interviews interesting people. Then you better have a topic. Right. That is like he interviews interesting people to find out how to grow their businesses from, X to Y. So you really have to have something that someone could sort of gravitate to, first of all. So I'd say everyone loves guitar. So people are, I like guitar. So, the guitar thing, to be honest, I've had some opportunities coming up to get beyond musicians, and I'm going to look into doing that because I like to do that, but the show has a core already,
right.
Now that I could do it. But to your question, so the first thing is, you do have to have you have to have something that's interesting in the first place. So people will spread it around and pass it around. The second most important thing is content. You have to be consistent and put out a lot of content. That's point blank.
Right.
If you're building a content-based anything, you got to put out content. That and I knew that because when I ran my marketing business, I did an email tip every day, literally every single day for like 10 years.
Right.
And if you're putting out good stuff, you don't get a lot of unsubscribes. So I knew this, and from clients I've worked with, if you're interesting, people say, well, no one's going to listen to a long show. That's not true. No one's going to listen to a long show that's boring, but no one's going to listen to a 5-minute show that's boring either.
Right.
Right. So as long as, and I knew this from writing sales letters, because I'd write, I would write what would be called like a free report that was really just a sales letter. It was 16 pages maybe, but people would order and buy. So I knew as long as you're putting out something interesting, length does not matter. And
I agree, because your shows are, they generally are an hour and a half to 2 hours long.
Yeah.
And they keep me captivated. I don't always get to listen to the whole thing in one listen, but that's the beauty of downloading and streaming now. Anyway,
yeah, and if there's parts you don't like, you can skip forward. I mean, not everybody's going to like every minute of my show, including me. I mean, it's not possible. It's like being in a marriage. I mean, believe me, I've been with my wife for 27 years. Every minute of that, she hasn't been madly in love with me. I assure you. It's just not. It's the law of large numbers. It's not possible, but I'm okay with that.
Right.
You got to be okay with it. But I'd say the primary thing is put out a decent product and be real consistent with your growth. And we have done a lot of marketing to get new listeners and to spread the word, so that more people see the show, because the more people that see it, the more people that listen.
So what are the distribution avenues, formats where people can find your show? Of course, on your website and iTunes, YouTube.
Yeah, it's anywhere podcasts. Look up Everyone Loves Guitar. It's anywhere that podcasts are distributed. We also have a YouTube channel. I put all my shows on YouTube.
Right.
That's a really big one. And now since we switched to videos, I got to be honest with you, it's off the charts.
Yeah.
The amount of, I mean, we've grown by 10,000 listens in like 2 or 3 months.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And
I've noticed that too, that
Yeah.
when we have simulcast videos like you and I are doing today, um, they get a lot of attention. And, and you would think that, most people are listening in the car or at the gym or this or that, but there's still to have the option to watch and look. I mean, I find it more intriguing, to look at people when they're speaking.
Well, also you got to remember, and this is again something I learned in marketing, you are not your customer. I would never watch something on YouTube for 2 hours, but I'm not my customer.
Right.
And I look at it, I have 2 customers. On the interview side, I have the person I'm interviewing and the listening audience. So I always try to keep those 2 things in the forefront of my mind. I want that person in front of me to be happy and have a good experience. And I want the listener to find it engaging. So,
Well, since you say you are not your customer, which makes complete sense, and I've never actually heard somebody say that, how do you get outside of yourself and your own filter of what you think is important so that you can see that with clarity, what, who your customer is and how to serve that goal?
Well, what I do is I always pretend I'm talking to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So like I pretend the problem that I'm trying to get a solution for is not mine.
Okay.
And I say, okay, if someone comes to me with this problem, what would I advise them?
Mm-hmm.
So I detach when you detach yourself from a situation, it's much easier. You get more clarity, as you said.
Right.
So I never, like if I'm stumped on something, the first thing I do is I say, okay, like, how would I handle this if my buddy came to me with this, or if a client came, or just anything,
Mm-hmm.
what would I advise them based on the experience I have? If I don't have experience, then I go to other people.
Right.
Well,
that's interesting because as a musician, I have that skill set totally nailed when I'm a guitar player or an arranger or producer. I understand how to do that, but never dawned on me to carry that over into my personal life and perspective of how to approach problems that I don't know the answers to in business, in marketing.
Yeah.
So
I even do that. Like if I have a personal issue, I'm trying to figure out how to understand something, or
right.
I always say, what would I do if somebody came to me? And I don't know that I'm going to have the right advice, but I have a starting point that gets me out of me.
What are your thoughts now on, with so many avenues for artists, independent artists being the majority of artists that are out there in music? Certainly podcasting is the same thing. In today's day and age where there are fewer and fewer outlets for promotion, you have said this. In today's day and age where there are fewer and fewer outlets for promotion, it gives me genuine pleasure to do this, especially as our audience grows. From my perspective, it seems like there are so many promotion outlets that artists don't know where to begin or how to stay current with marketing.
Yeah.
And I can relate to that in that, every time I turn around or we're rebuilding my website because technology has changed all of those things, just when I'm finally getting on top of blogging or Facebook or whatever, then I'm being re-educated, saying, oh, no, don't do that. Now it's Instagram. Everything's this. Right. It's not that anymore. What is it right now? I mean, what is there like, are there certain things, or how do you stay on top of them? How do you make your decisions where to focus your marketing strategies?
Okay. So first of all, for musicians, what I would suggest is the most important thing is, especially look, everybody that's a baby boomer, instead of saying, oh, it sucks, this is horrible, blah, blah, blah. You're right.
Yeah.
In theory. Okay, now what?
Right.
Like, so you got to embrace it. And in a way, if you're 20 years old and you came into this business, you'd have a different attitude. You'd say, holy shit. You mean if I work hard, I can get my own music out there and have nobody take any of my money,
right,
and go on tour and make all the money? So a lot of it is just what we're used to, and now you have a frame of reference of what used to be.
Right.
I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying move on. It's like being angry at your ex-wife or something like that. At some point in time, it's like, it's not serving you.
Yeah.
So as far as what to do, really, like what's the hot medium? Is it Facebook? Is really, I think you should focus on where your audience is. To me, if you have an older audience, you're going to be more Facebook and a little bit of Instagram. It seems like music is pretty popular on Instagram. I don't do Twitter because I don't like Twitter. I think it's stupid. I mean, nothing, not that people are stupid who use it. For me, I don't like the process. I'm not interested in, I don't feel what I have to say is like compelling and, hey man, this is my 140 characters. Now, that being said, I have an assistant every day that posts everything and it automatically gets distributed to all these places. Like I need to have a presence there, but I'm not personally going on there ever. I mean, once in a blue moon. Man, you got to put out a lot of content. You've got to put out, and unfortunately for people that, and a lot of musicians are like this, and this is why they're so humble, because they don't want to be the center of attention 24/7.
Yeah, a lot of artists and performers are shy.
Yeah, very much. And to be honest with you, I don't like outside of my show and business stuff, I'll never post on, oh, here's Ann and I, once in a blue moon if I'm away or something, I'll have one picture, but it'll be like my wife and I having fun. It won't be like, oh, here's this.
Well, yeah.
Look at my nice hotel room. It's not me.
Even like, I know about you on a personal level that you love fishing and cigars and coffee and things, but like, I only know that because we know each other. I've never, we talk. I've never seen a picture of you smoking a cigar with a fishing pole.
Right. Because it's like, that's not my thing, man. But I got to get my show out there, and you sure as shit see my show promoted every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're a musician, you got to do the same thing, you know? And there's so many opportunities that lay people would love that people don't realize that they take for granted. Example, this is how I'm recording in a studio. The average person doesn't know what a studio looks like.
Right.
The average person hasn't been in a studio. The average person sees like these screens and it's like overload. What's in there? So how about you do, hey man, we're mixing my record. Here's what mixing means. And let me, so you make a 5-minute video of showing, how cool is that? If you have someone that likes your music, you don't have to sit there and say, oh, here's my fish tacos I ate. Nobody gives a shit about that.
Right. Yeah.
Way too many people do. Or, hey, we just wrapped up a day in the studio. We're going, here's me and the team. What would you find interesting about somebody? And again, get out of yourself. What would you find interesting about an artist that you like? And that's what people want to see.
Yeah. Even the things that are so much a part of the fabric of what our life has been, we might not even think that it would be interesting, like that you just had a 14-hour day in a studio and now here's me with the team walking out to the parking lot.
Right.
And all it is a walk to the parking lot, but it's like, it is interesting to share that. If you do it, depends on what your intention is, I think. And if it's to share information, if it's, for me, I find it, I know you feel the same, to share information about other people, not just about yourself.
Yeah, you can't be so I mean, look, it really depends on your audience then again, because some people, are extremely self-aggrandizing, and you develop a different following when you do that. You develop a more like and I'm going to use the word cult-like. I don't mean that you're a cult leader, but you develop a following of underlings. And it's all how you're positioning yourself,
Right.
I don't worry about positioning. I'm just being myself. And if people like it, great. And really, I don't have to do much. It's my show. And I put the show out there. And if people like it, great. And if not, they could turn the channel. I don't mean that obnoxiously, but there's, 749,999 other podcasts to listen to, but I think it's important that you be yourself is what I'm saying, and if you're uncomfortable showing something, great, but there's got to be a lot that you are comfortable showing. How about that 14-hour day? What does that look like, a 14-hour day? So here's what we did. Here's a white chart. Hey, you guys probably wondering what we do in the studio all day. This is what it breaks down to. And man, that'll take you 20 minutes. You can make 3 or 4 videos out of that.
Right.
With 3, I wouldn't go on and on and on, but
sure. That becomes self-indulgent. Yeah.
Well, no, it's not really self-indulgent, but no, it's gotta be interesting. Remember, you want people to hang on there. Right. So, maybe you do it in 2 videos of 5 minutes each or something like that.
I was just going to ask you, so is a good length 5 minutes ish, just or it depends on the
Depends
content.
what you're talking about. Yeah. Again, as
Right.
long as it's interesting.
Right.
If it's interesting, you can go an hour, but is you breaking down your studio time going to be an hour's interesting enough for someone to listen for an hour? No, not in my opinion.
Right.
I don't even think if Mick Jagger laid that out there would be interesting. And he's got
right.
way more, people in theory interested in him, what he's doing.
Well, it's almost like a haiku, or do you want
Yeah.
to make your point in as few words as needed?
Economy. Yeah.
Economy. And, actually it's reminding me that, before I did this podcast, before I hosted mine for the last couple of years, there was a period where I did a Terry Tuesdays video every day that one of my young marketing people, suggested. You just need to do that, exactly what you're saying. And they were normally, 5 to maybe 15 minutes, depending on what it was.
Great.
Generally talking about a cool song, a cool this, a new instrument, even, my martial arts training. I showed my kata one time because I thought, well, that'd be interesting to share because I find it interesting. It wasn't so much look at me, but it's like, hey, there's more to the world than, a C major scale or an overdrive pedal.
And on top of that, if do everything, no one knows what's going to work. You might start doing this, and then you might find that, holy shit, the thing that people vibe with the most is my kata,
right?
My martial arts stuff. So I'm going to do, but if you do nothing, then you're never going to know. You're better off making mistakes by doing too much, because people will soon give you feedback.
Right. And the feedback is how many likes, how many comments, or are you looking beneath the hood?
Engagement. I'm looking for engagement. Like typically, what do people respond to? What are people, and for us, believe it or not, video, the people that watch YouTube are off the charts. We wound up getting so many comments now that I just go one day a week only, like every Tuesday morning or something like that. And I try to answer as many as I can. I can't even get to, and I'm not saying that like, oh, I can't even get to it, because I'm just saying we've built it up over time. So it's like, it's not realistic. Nobody can keep up with it.
Well, it's one of you're leading to the next question that I have for you, which is you welcome feedback from your listeners, and you encourage and by the way, just for anybody who listens to Everyone Loves Guitar, or Everybody Loves Guitar, or
everyone. You got it.
Everyone Loves Guitar. Thank you for the correction.
No, you can go to Everyone Loves Guitar and it'll come up anyway, so that's fine.
Oh, good. Right.
I bought all those domains.
Right, because you have a marketing background, so you already knew all the errors people would make. That's pretty smart. But first of all, subscribe. Subscribe to both of our podcasts, because it helps keep the podcast viable and alive and help spread the word. So please, if you like Craig's podcast, if you like mine, subscribe and share it, spread the word. But the other thing is, again, I know that you have encouraged people to reach out to you, and you've said that you have had the pleasure to meet a few of your listeners, and that you had said that you'd love to do local meetups perhaps sometime in the future. And it actually triggered this idea for me when I read this, that I would do that with you. If there's something nationally, and listeners, you can write into Craig or myself if you have an interest in this, but if you would like to attend some kind of a seminar or something, and we haven't talked about this, so I'm just putting it out there to you. I would join forces with you, and it could be in Florida or California or Nashville or whatever.
I might be in NAM. So I'll keep you posted.
That maybe we could set up a little mini something. There might be a way to do that through our network as well. But I think it's important to bring like-minded people together, and perhaps do a seminar where people can actually ask questions live of us, of our guest who we're interviewing or things. So we can marinate on that. But if any listeners are curious or have ideas or thoughts on that, I'm open. Because information is power. And we are a community of artists that it's a way we can all support each other as well. I think that's really important. One of the things that people don't know is how much preparation goes into you putting a show together, or me, that each of your shows is close to 2 hours long, but can you give a little behind the scenes of what it takes to prepare for that?
Well, first of all, you got to get that person
Right.
in the first place. So
Yes.
you got to make, all the phone calls that you make, and then you got to book them and set it up. And I have an appointment. I always slip into Bronx mode. I have an appointment. I've been lived there many years. What I did was I bought a website now that I could send people to book appointments.
Oh, you do? Good.
Yeah, it's called Schedule Once, and so it has all the open schedules on there. So that I didn't do that day one, but that alleviated some of the work. And so by the day, first you got to get the person, and then like got to be honest with you, most of the people, it's not possible to know everything, right? In fact, it was really funny. I don't get a lot of trolls, but I do get some.
Mm-hmm.
And one time, and I never engage because like, what's in it for me, right? So, and I don't need to increase my stress. Seriously, like, if you're angry at me, what you think of me is like none of my business, really.
Right.
So So one time this guy wrote something. I had a country artist there. I know fuck all zero about country music, right? They didn't even allow you to listen to country music growing up in New York. And so I can't believe, but I respect their playing. They're great musicians, really sweet people, very nice. I mean, just salt of the earth, like everybody I interviewed, to be honest with you.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know the music. I don't know the history of the music. So I fall a little short. And I tell people that when I interview them, and I apologize in advance to them. And so I did a country, and he goes, this interview is an idiot. How come he didn't ask this question? Doesn't he know this guy did this famous thing? So I didn't do anything. And, I remember, my wife's always one of these people, you kill them with kindness, people, right? And so I didn't say, so a few days later, and that's one thing I've learned too, never respond right away because everybody's all head up. Right. And I said, hey, you know what? You're 100% right. I don't know much about country music, and I probably should have asked that question. I really appreciate you listening to the interview, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's just not possible for me to be familiar with every single person and every single genre, even I interview. It's just like not possible.
Right.
The guy came back and he goes, man, I'm really sorry I sent that to you. He goes, I know your show. I listened to it. You're right. It is no way you're going to know everything. He goes, well, keep up the good work. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, little win, for both of us.
Right.
Know? So, okay. Why did I get on that? You were talking about preparation. Okay. So, if it's an artist or a player who's playing I'm familiar with, it's just like go back in, and I've probably already listened to their records and records. How old am I? I've probably
in your 50s.
Yeah, I've probably already listened to their music, and I have stars and how many times I've listened to each song. So I'll go and just re-listen to some of them and talk about my favorite songs, and I'll talk about a few of the songs. I'll ask them like genuine questions, like, "Dude, where'd you get the riff on this song?" Or
things you're curious about. Yeah,
I like what did you do to make your guitar? What's your guitar sound on there made up of? How'd you get that distortion or whatever interests me?
Right.
Or what does this lyric mean? But if it's somebody I don't, that's painstaking at times from a time standpoint, because I have to go back and I may listen to 2 or 3 records, and I listen to them. I have actual speakers here in my office. Because I want to focus on the music. So I'll do it while I'm doing other stuff that I can have in the background, but I'm paying attention to the music. Then I go back and I ask them questions about the songs. And then I have my interview questions that I change for each person, and I have to put those together. So you're talking a minimum of an hour prep for everybody. That's assuming you know everything about them. Not including situations where I've got to do a bunch of research.
Right.
Like Brent Mason's coming on my show, I think this week. I know who he is. I'm not familiar with a lot of his recordings because I don't listen to country.
Right. But you will be by next week.
I did already. I had to go listen to a bunch of his stuff, and I watched videos on YouTube, and I read about his story, and I listened to a couple of interviews he did myself. So, sometimes it's 3-4 hours of prep work. And
for me too.
And then I get everybody the questions ahead of time, because I don't want, I think people feel better sometimes when especially the nature of my calls are intimate, and I don't want to.
Right. That's true.
I'm not looking to bait or surprise anybody. And if they don't want to answer some of the questions, they tell me up front, and I'm totally cool with that. I ask them, as a matter of fact. So there's a lot of time, anywhere from an hour to 4 hours. So
let's get personal. We're getting towards the end of the conversation. There's a couple things I want to know, and and anything you don't want to answer, you don't need to. And also, I don't believe in throwing anybody under the bus. So we're the same on that. But just what inspires you in life and also in music?
I just want to be a better person in
Mm-hmm.
life in all aspects, a better human being, a better business person, a better husband to my wife, a better father to my kids. My family is really important to me. And I always, want to do that better. Musically, same thing. I want to be a better player. I want to understand the guitar neck better than I do now. I want to know how to, I have a very good ear, but my ears can't, my fingers don't have the wisdom and knowledge to keep up with where my ear knows to send them.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to put that. Yeah. Right. So, and I'm, and I'm progressing. So I want to be a better player. And, the other thing that really inspires me is I had a guy, I don't know if you know Greg Martin from the Kentucky Headhunters.
Yeah.
He was the first guy I had on my show. He really is a very pure person. And when I mean that, he doesn't have a bad bone in his body.
Mm-hmm.
And he was very comfortable opening up. And I'm trying to get better at that. So when I see people like that, it really inspires me to be better at that and better at opening up in general. I have trust issues that I'm trying to overcome.
Well, you've created the perfect job for yourself to
honestly
develop those skills.
Ironically, I know.
Yeah, I know.
And it's been great from that. I've had a lot of more growth in the last 2 years and probably in the last 10.
What disappoints you in life and also in art, in the business world?
Probably the same thing. People not being real, I guess, I would rather have like a don't piss on my back and tell me it's raining outside kind of mindset about that. Like if you're not happy with me or whatever, just let me know, man. That's fine. I'm good with that. I like when people are real. I'm disappointed at people are not honest, and injustice bothers me as well. But that's a variable injustice for different people. That means different things to different people.
Sure.
But for me,
absolutely.
That's a little bit of a bummer.
So, I mean, we've been joking around about age, in our conversation today, but I'm in my 60s, you're in your 50s.
Yeah.
And we both take care of ourselves. I know you go to the gym and stay healthy. Yeah. What lessons have you learned about life, along your journey, and how has your perspective changed, getting older?
I think what I've learned is it's really important to be nice, important for you and important for the other person. It's really the least stressful way to go. And as I've gotten older, minimizing, like when I had all this stuff go down in 2009, I made a promise to myself. I said, look, there are things that are going to happen that are out of my control, and and all of us, and you can't prevent those. But I promised myself I would eliminate any stress that's brought on my life because of me. And I've really thought about decisions more from that standpoint as I've gotten older. And I tend to take the decision that's going to be the path of least stress, because that is, for me, that's the right one to take.
So not the path of least resistance, but the path of least stress.
Yes, the path of least stress. Because I tended for most of my life, because of the way I grew up, I was stress is my default option. Chaos and stress, and you need a guy to go in there and kick down the doors, get Garber. You need a guy to drive the car through the bricks, get Garber. He'll do it.
Right.
He could survive it, man. And I realized that was my default option from how I was programmed and how things I had to deal with as a kid.
Your environment.
Yeah, and I said, I'm not down on that anymore. It's if it's going to change, it's got to change with me. And so I opt for the path of least stress now. And I try to share that with my kids, because I think that is so important, man, to if it's stressful, it's generally not the right decision. It doesn't mean you don't have to work hard or take chances, but if something that you do feels inherently wrong, and try to be in touch with how I'm feeling and have a sense of awareness, then I don't do it.
Mm-hmm. That must make your wife happy, to see you being easier on yourself.
Well, here's the reality, man. When you're easier on yourself, you're easier on everybody else.
Sure.
So yeah, it does make her happy. Yeah.
So my closing questions that I ask all of my guests that you don't know ahead of time, and no right or wrong answers. The first is a two-part question. Since this show is called Making It, what does making it mean to you, both personally and professionally?
I kind of subscribe to the theory of, success, both personally and business-wise, is measured from the point where you started to the point where you are today. Because the reality is, if you're a type A person and you're driven, it's never going to be enough wherever you're at, whatever you're doing. And then you're not cutting yourself any breaks. You're not being fair to yourself. So for me, that's I feel more fair to myself, and I'm able to appreciate things more if I look at where I started and where I am today, and not where and it's also allows me to be in the moment instead of the future of, well, I'm not here, but in the future or in the past, because none of those places are healthy or serve me anyway.
Can you share 3 tips for success that have driven your career?
Yeah, don't do what everybody else is doing. In fact, do the opposite. Have confidence in yourself. I had Frank Marino on my show recently, and I said, give me some final words of wisdom, Frank. And he said, it's never as bad as you think it is. So have confidence in yourself. And man, just do it. Get your hands dirty. Do it. Don't worry about, well, I need to get this more and I need to get that more. And I need to buy one more book or one more program. Just do it and you'll learn. And that one thing that helped me, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to run on about this, but it was important. You ever see the making of Dark Side of the Moon? It's a video.
No.
It's really cool.
I will now.
Yeah, it was on Netflix. And Roger Waters said something there. He goes, most people live life thinking about, in the future, when I get this, I'll do that. When this happens, I'll be ready for this. He goes, man, life starts at dot and then it goes. There's no do-overs and there's no, you're in it now, man. And that really impacted me. And you're in it now. So get in it and do whatever the hell you need to do. Don't wait.
Thanks for sharing that story.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I will definitely go check that out.
Yeah.
Craig, my final question is, at this point of your life, with everything that you know to be true, what would you tell your younger self, little Craig growing up in the Bronx?
I'd say, don't worry, everything. It's not as bad as you think. I'd say, I honestly, what I'd probably say is, but I wouldn't want to change anything. So it's hard, but I would say, don't be afraid to ask for help. I would say, don't be afraid to ask for help, and happiness is a choice. So choose wisely.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you to end our show with. So remember, happiness is a choice. So choose wisely.
There you go.
Beautifully said. Everybody go check out Everyone Loves Guitar. You can find it anywhere you can find a podcast, and go give it some 5 stars if you love it, and review, and stay in touch with both of us because we welcome your feedback. Craig, thank you so much for spending the time and being on my show. It's really fun to flip the script with you and
fun for you.
Yeah. It's great to be on both sides of it.
I really appreciate it. It's very kind of you to have me on as a guest.
So, and everybody, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week. And Craig, you're the best. I really appreciate you.
Likewise, man. Take care, Terry. Thank you. See you, everybody.